Do you think it's? Let me, because I don't know.
Okay.
Can I just ask you something? I don't know. You know me. I don't know much.
Okay.
About nothing, right?
Right.
But do you believe that it was like man-made?
Every expert that I have talked to that examined the virus itself, the cleavage sites, the way it skipped all like animal forms, like you can't find that virus out in the wild.
What's going on, YouTube family? It's your boy Jaya in the building, and it's been a minute since you've seen your boy do a real video like this. And I just want to promise you guys that I will start being more consistent, updating you with content like this. But before we get into this content, make sure that you like the video, share the video, share it with a friend. And this video is going to hit on some topics that Joe Rogan was speaking about to Bobby Lee in a recent podcast about what keeps him up at night, the thoughts that he's been having lately, and is Joe Rogan trying to be encountered by God? In my personal opinion, I believe that God is trying to encounter Joe Rogan because he's in a position right now that he can influence millions of people into going after God. So, without further ado, here's the video. Let's see it.
I think evil's real. And I think evil exists in many forms, and it exists in callous disregard for loss of life for profit. That's evil, right? And that's a real thing. Like, you could say evil is the devil. Here's a little lighter here, buddy. You could say evil is Satan, and evil is demons, and evil is, you know, exorcisms and shit. There you go. Look at that, baby. But also, evil is profit over human life, which is real.
Is this the shit you think about when you lay in bed at night?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you sleep?
Sometimes I don't. That's a real problem at night.
Yeah.
At night, I have my most anxiety-filled moments about this stuff. I've talked about it openly.
Wow.
Like, I'll really freak out at night because I legitimately think we are one or two events away from living in the Stone Age again. And I think it could happen in our lifetime, and it could happen to you and I. Like, I'm really convinced that the fabric of society is way more fragile than anyone appreciates.
Yeah.
100%.
That most people appreciate, rather.
I mean, I feel it in the air.
Yeah.
Can't you just shut it off and not... I mean, there's so many people in this country just walk around and they just don't... All these things that we're talking about right now, they don't think about it. They just live their lives. Don't you think that that's a happier life or no? I just feel so stressed out right now.
It's crazy because Joe Rogan speaking about how this, you know, keeps him up at night and how he constantly thinks like, you know, evil is in the forms of like, we speak about the devil, we speak about exorcisms, right? We speak about all these evil things, but there are people in place, y'all, that really have an agenda to depopulize the entire earth. And Joe Rogan is clearly stating this type of evil, this manipulation, this control. And of course, you know, Bobby Lee, he's hilarious and this is amazing. But at the end of the day, like, I know the average person out there, see, you might not have a belief in God and you might not be religious. I'm not religious either. I have a relationship with God, and God shows us these things, these forms of evil. And I believe that he's actually trying to encounter Joe Rogan, because bringing up a topic like this with the platform that he has is going to bring a lot of hate coming Joe Rogan's way.
Why?
Because that's the reality that we live in.
It's stressing me out.
That's the reality that we live in. We live in a very dangerous, complicated world.
Yeah.
It's a complicated issue.
It's so complicated.
And it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's when you look at the video of when they do an overhead of what Gaza used to look like and what it looks like now,
It's
insane. It's fucking insane.
But it's like 25,000 now?
At least.
At least.
They don't know how many people are dead. They have no idea.
And just
half the population is women and children.
And the trauma. And the fucking, you know, famine. It's just, I just can't even comprehend it, really.
Yeah, and the Israelis tell you that it's necessary. And that they have to get rid of Hamas. And this is the way to do it. But just,
I mean, I believe that. I believe that. I believe that maybe that should be, but I think the approach could be different.
Yeah.
Right or no?
I don't have any expertise in war.
Neither.
But I'm horrified that they can just shoot missiles into buildings. And they tell people to get out, but then they bomb the areas where they're going to. I mean, the whole thing's nuts, man. It's nuts, and it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. These Free Palestine marches that are happening all over the world, those are all organized too, by the way. Those, when you get on social media and you see the Free Palestine people and the pro-Israel people, what percentage of those people are bots?
Right.
It's not zero. It's not zero. There's a lot of what's getting stirred up.
Propaganda. You see a lot of y'all see these. I cannot stand a Free Palestine post on my feed. It's everywhere. It crowds in America, Free Palestine, and they don't realize what they're actually talking about is genocide. What these people are coming together to actually declare with their lips is to remove an entire race of people because the land that they're living on. And you really don't think that there's bots? We got bots and trolls. I get trolls on my lives all the time on TikTok. Bots everywhere. We see bots in comment section. You really don't think that people are getting hired to be paid for an agenda to be spoken, y'all? This is real life, bro.
A lot of the hateful things that are being said, a lot of the crazy things that are being said, I guarantee you a lot of that's being instigated by foreign countries.
100%.
That's what's scary about social media and the influence it has on people and the way they feel about a particular issue. And that's on top of the horrific nature of the issue itself, both of October 7th, which is undeniably horrific.
Horrific.
And then this. And then on top of that, you have this open anti-Semitism that we never saw before, where it's just open everywhere. It's wild.
It's fucking terrible.
It's so scary, man.
But it's also an issue that will never be resolved.
But it's not just that it'll never be resolved. Like, I never thought it was going to be an issue where the presidents of like major universities were standing in front of Congress and they were justifying people saying death to the Jews, that it wasn't harassment unless it was actionable.
I'll tell you, that's insane. Yeah.
Like
Insane.
what? And then when the Congresswoman was trying to get them to expand on that, do you mean actual genocide, then it's harassment when they commit actual genocide?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you saying?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing we were talking about. It's the cult. They're in that leftist cult, and it's not reasonable. It doesn't make any sense. It's all crazy.
Oh, and when they were like, Osama bin Laden could have been right or whatever.
Where did Osama bin Laden come from? Well, he came from the CIA funding them, the Mujahideen, to fight against the Soviet Union. They're trained. They're trained by Americans.
Yeah.
Look, there's a certain reality to American imperialism. It doesn't do anybody any good to deny it. We have military bases everywhere.
You're right, yeah.
Yep.
If you were a foreign country, and a nationalistic foreign country, of course you'd hate America. Of course you'd hate what we do. I mean, look at what's going on right now with this Ukraine-Russia thing. Look at how much money's being funneled through that. The fact that all of a sudden no one wanted to admit that Ukraine had always been a very corrupt country.
Right.
There's a crazy Twitter exchange between Candace Owens and the New York Times, where Candace Owens was talking about how corrupt Ukraine is, and then the New York Times says to her, like, what evidence do you have that Ukraine is corrupt? She goes, oh, you mean the links from your fucking newspaper? And just from like 2016 and before that, there's all these fucking stories about how corrupt Ukraine is in the New York Times. They didn't even bother looking it up, because when you're in the cult says you support Ukraine. Do you want Ukraine to win, or do you want Russia to win? Like, what the fuck are you even saying?
Yeah.
How much do you know about why this thing was instigated in the first place? How much do you know about NATO? About how much they're moving arms closer to the Soviet Union, about how Ukraine joining NATO was always a red flag. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know nothing.
Most people that are talking about it don't know either.
I don't know nothing.
That was the red line that you could not cross. Ukraine joining Russia, or joining NATO, rather. The whole thing's fucking terrifying, because we're dealing with nuclear superpowers. When Xi Jinping tells Biden that Taiwan will join China again, like, that means they're going to take Taiwan. What are we going to do if they take Taiwan? Are we going to? And then Biden says we're not going to do anything. Like, okay. First he said we're going to stop them. Now he says we're not going to do anything. Like, oh my God.
Right.
And
Biden is a joke. This is why it's very important this year to really go out and vote, man. And I'm voting for President Trump. I'm voting for him. But I have this suspicion that they're trying to do something to cause like a civil war amongst each other. Like, I don't know what they're plotting, but I do know that they're not going to be silent, and they're going to try to stop this man from getting into office.
He's only saying whatever the fuck they write down for him.
Exactly.
The whole thing's nuts. It's like, who's deciding what happens and doesn't happen? It's not that guy, right? So if it's not him, who the fuck is it?
Right.
Is it the Secretary of State? Is it the press secretary? Who's is it the military industrial complex? Are they completely at the helm? Will they ever let control of that wheel to anybody else now that they have it? But what's going on now is very different, and it's accentuated by social media. And I think it's accentuated by algorithms naturally because people are inclined to go towards things that upset them. But also, it's done purposely. And I think it's done if you have enough stuff about like whatever the thing is, whether it's Black Lives Matter or whether it's Ukraine or whether it's free Palestine from the river to the sea. If you have enough of that online, it moves the needle. And the way I described it the other day, it's like if two ships are going in a certain direction. This is a ship where people logically work through things, and this is a ship that's adjusted by the algorithm, affected by the algorithm. And it just moves that much. Over time, this is what we're seeing. So over time, you and I, who used to...
That's facts, but yo, I want you to see Bobby here. This was actually hilarious. My wife pointed this out. Look at this. You see how Joe Rogan's going up, right? Look at Bobby's hands.
Affected by the algorithm. It just moves that much. Over time, this is what we're seeing. So over time,
Bobby is a hilarious guy, man. He's trying to, be in the story. But y'all, this is really good. Can you believe Joe Rogan is actually speaking like this? Did you know that he's actually speaking out more against the leftist lunatics out there?
You and I, who used to be on the left, are now like, where's the left? These fucking creeps at the World Economic Forum, they all get together and talk about preparation for disease X. They're calling it virus X or disease X. They're scaring the shit out of me.
But do you think it's? Because I don't know.
Okay.
Can I just ask you something? I don't know. You know me. I don't know much.
Okay.
About nothing, right?
Right.
But do you believe that it was like man-made?
Every expert that I have talked to that examined the virus itself, the cleavage sites, the way it skipped all like animal forms, like you can't find that virus out in the wild.
This is why they tried so hard and forced so many people to take a shot. The military was forced into taking these shots, threatened with their jobs and man-made viruses. There is so much evidence pointing towards that it's likely man-made than not, right? We gotta, they say, look at the science, and the science is in our face, but I'm telling you, they, just like Joe said, they feed you enough of these things. They say enough they tell you it's true, and it's funded by multi-billion-dollar companies. You're going to believe it's true. You're going to start to believe the propaganda being fed to you. It's absolutely crazy. This is why you need to have a relationship with God, so that way you don't have to have that fear, because honestly, it is scary. It is something scary to think that, hey, they're watching, hey, they're doing certain things that are kind of trying to rip us apart and bring us into a place where they're in total control of what we eat, what we think, what we say. It's absolutely crazy. But if you know the creator of this universe, you don't have to be afraid, because he's already given us something to look forward to. And he's already given us like plans in his word to overcome these times.
So it made a leap to person. It apparently has all of the earmarks of being engineered.
Wow.
This is something that they do. This is not like science fiction. These are the same people that want war. These are the same people that are encouraging censorship. These are the same people that are trying to silence dissent. That's all totalitarian shit. And just because it's done for trans kids or for Black Lives Matter or for any social cause that you think is like undeniably worthy, it's still the same thing at the end of the day. The Patriot Act still controlled people in a way that was never allowed before. And it did it under the guise that we have to stop a terrorist attack. Yeah. So even if they don't do evil shit to make these things happen, once these things happen, they take advantage by doing evil shit. And they enact control over the people that they never had before. And that's what they did during COVID.
Can I ask you, why are they so reluctant to not give us a different option there?
Because it's control. Because whenever there's anything that happens in the world, whether it's 9/11, and through 9/11 they passed the Patriot Act, and there was a devastating blow to free speech and control and just your ability to have privacy. The government had full reign to listen to all your phone calls, read all your emails, and they're doing it right now. And the NSA is doing it right now. They can listen to any time you make a phone call to someone. It's all getting recorded.
Yeah, but when we complain like Biden's a little too old, maybe can we find a different option? They're not even open to the idea of it. It's just like, no, he's the guy.
He's not in control right now, right? So if the people who are in control right now, why would they want to swap out a new person?
Thank you.
Deep state.
Well, for real.
Is it deep state?
Listen. You could put whatever words you want, but if you don't think that these corporations that donate insane amounts of money to political campaigns have an influence on what happens in the world, you're naive. That's a silly way to think of things. Now, if you've got a guy who basically has no mind and he is your figurehead, if you can keep him alive for 4 years, you just run it the way you're running it right now.
Wow.
Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? See, a lot of people are naive to this stuff, man. A lot of people, like Bobby said, like, I just don't want to hear it, or I try to like avoid what's going on. But this is a reality. We have to understand what's actually taking place in this nation. It's absolutely crazy, y'all. It's low-key scary. But that's why you need the Lord. And if you out there who don't know the Lord Jesus, man, listen, I'm not trying to, but I am trying to get you to go seek after God, because this nation needs God. There's a lot of corruptness happening. There's a lot of evil taking place in policies that you will never read. And so just like COVID happened, do you think that that's the last thing that they plotting for us? I don't know about you, but I'm not sleeping and I'm not naive to all the evil taking place. Shout out to Joe Rogan, man, for actually speaking up on truths that are uncomfortable for people to hear because they want to be in a bubble of naivety. I don't even know if that's a word. People just want to be in a bubble of everything's okay. We trust the government. I do not trust the government. The Patriot Act, go look up the Patriot Act. I don't know about y'all, but I love this interview. Let me know your comments down below. And thank you for clicking on the video and watching it all the way through. If you haven't liked it by now, like the video. Thank you so much. Share this with a friend, and I'll see you on the next one, family. Rise! Rise!